Hey, welcome to my first live. I've not done YouTube Live. I'm pretty new to this. And today I just wanted to get on and say this is a new channel. There's not a lot of material on it. And I'm just thinking it's probably better to go live because that way you know it's not AI. And I wanted to talk about something that it didn't occur to me till a few days ago. And if you know me, I teach a lot about wealth and things. And today I want to talk about something called survivor's guilt and how it affects your wealth. So, I want to begin today by bringing three different things to the topic so that you understand how survivor's guilt shows up, how it affects your wealth, and what to do about it. Because we don't even think maybe that we have survivor's guilt. And I know that the first time I started having success or achieving some great things, one of the things I noticed was that not everybody was happy about it. And what happened was what I thought was going to make me, people be proud of me, people be excited for me. That didn't actually happen. And here's what I want to share. And I'm going to be really transparent here. I came from a pretty violent home. And when you come from a violent home and you're trying to level up or change your life or have some personal improvement or self growth or self love or kindness in your life, and you decide, well, you know what? I'm going to level up. And you may not know what leveling up is at first, but leveling up is usually your mindset first because you have to go through all of the survivor thing that you went through and help yourself have a little bit of balance. So, what happened for me was, for some reason, in spite of all the violence that happened, I still had this stirring in my heart. And that stirring was a lot of drive. It wanted to see stuff, do stuff, be somewhere, and have experiences that were different than the violence I went through. So, of course, I did all that. And what happened was when I started leveling up and I started having some success, I had this quiet guilt and I didn't quite know what it was. But as I had more success and made more money and started having things go my way, what happened was people weren't as happy for me as I thought they would be. In fact, some were quite angry or they were entitled. And because I had such a rough upbringing, I was kind of a people pleaser. And what I found out was that wounding kept my money away from me. Like I could make a lot of money, but I had no boundaries around it. And what happened to it was that I kept giving it away to family members and things where they thought your money is my money. And what happened was when the resentment went up, quietly went up, I would have this guilty feeling in like I wasn't supposed to get out of the pit where they were. I was supposed to be in the pit with them. And I know sometimes they call it that crab syndrome where you're in a group of crabs and they see you trying to get out and they pull you back down. I'm not sure that I was being pulled back down because of crab syndrome as much as it was war wounds. So I think what happened was that you can have PTSD. So a soldier can go to war for a year or two and they can come home with PTSD, and everybody understands that. But if you were in a violent or neglectful or just a really dysfunctional family, you can have PTSD too, because usually you live in that environment for like 18 years before you can leave. You're forced to live in that unhealthy environment for so long before you can get away, run away, have a different life. But once you leave, you have to untangle all of that beliefs in you that aren't true. and it's mostly beliefs and mindset. So the first thing I did was I started working on my beliefs and mindset, but I always felt this thing that write another book or build another business. And when I started pursuing that, what's really cool about a business or what's really cool about pursuing wealth anyway is that the first thing you're going to run into the second you start is the part of you that has been blocking you all your life. So what happens with survivor's guilt is that it can take your potential and cap it. I can only get this successful before my family is mad at me, or before people around me are upset, or before demand from me starts happening. People want more money, they want this, they want that. And what I didn't have was boundaries. And I had to learn how to have boundaries. So the first thing I did to have boundaries was I learned to purchase wealth that was not as liquidable as, your family can come up and they're like, hey, I need $1,000 and I need it now. And without thinking, because they're my family, you're like, okay, here's $1,000. And so what happened was I started becoming the bank. And I didn't realize that as soon as I was the bank, they never had to do anything. And I just felt so guilty because I had this, I don't know, I just had survivor's guilt. And what that looked like for me was I moved my life a level up past the abuse that happened down here, and past the neglect, and past the everything else that happened down here. And so it wasn't affecting my ability. So what affected my ability was the survivors, my litter mates, my siblings who went through this with me, and they weren't as free as I was. And I have a really soft spot in my heart. I don't like to see things suffer. And sometimes you have to let something suffer. And sometimes you need to help someone not suffer. And the discernment between which one you should do is not always black and white. So if somebody's like an alcoholic addicted person, you can go to Al-Anon and they're like, you have to have a boundary. You have to say no, let them go to hit rock bottom because that's the only way up. But when you see people struggle and you don't know why they're struggling, or you see them struggle and you know why they're struggling because of abuse or whatever, that gives you a completely different view. And I have to admit, I've never learned what the correct level of discernment is. What I have learned is that I no longer want to let it cap my potential. Like, I can only make this much so nobody's mad at me, or so that I don't have responsibilities that I don't have boundaries around. And it's kind of a human nature thing where if you have a soft heart or you're a really kind, loving person, which I think most of the people are, then when you create money, you have to figure out a system that is going to help you keep the money you create. And so if we look at it, I can have a little fund that says, here's a little money for family. But then I start buying assets and things that are not as quickly liquidable. Like if you buy some gold, you're not going to flip it the next day into cash because one of your family members needs it. But what happens to somebody who has survivor's guilt is that they automatically, unconsciously become the go-to person in their family. It's like, I'm the go-to person. I'm the one who's responsible, and everybody else is allowed to dip into that. I don't think that anymore. It's easy to make money. It's easy to make wealth. It's easy to create assets. Keeping them, that's a tougher position when it comes to everybody else who thinks it's your responsibility because you are the family member that they can have your money. They can just keep taking your money. And you, if you have no boundaries and you want to look like you're the supportive person, the person that is helpful, the person that doesn't want to see them suffer, The second that you continue that, you're going to cap your own potential. That money is your potential. Those assets are your potential. If you're giving potential out all the time, then it's capping you instead of reinvesting it so you have more potential or opportunity, then you're losing what you could have grown. And that's what I realized, and it was very hard for me. I was like, "Okay, what's my boundary?" First, pay yourself first, and then have a cap. Like, I've already lent you this money, and by the way, I don't lend money at all, and I don't suggest you do either. Either give it to them or don't have it. That's really an important second thing. If you're lending money, then you're gonna do what I did, and that's create angst. People already know they owe you money and they can't pay you back. And so what happens is that angst starts happening. So what I did was I said, "All right, if I have it, I give it away. Here's the money, you can have it." And then if I didn't have it, I'd say, "I don't have that. It's not in my kitty right now." And what I did was I started planning my money differently. How am I going to invest this? How am I going to put this back so that it creates another opportunity or a potential for me? But what happened was for the first, I don't know, maybe 20 years, I didn't realize that my potential was hidden underneath the feeling of having survivor's guilt, meaning I got out of the mindset that squished us all because some abuser was in the way here. And once you rise past that, that doesn't mean your family's going to listen to you and go, "Oh, you know how to get past this." That's not what they want. They want relief. And if you become their source of relief, then you're aiding and abetting a habit that they can't stop because they haven't hit rock bottom. You're always the cushion there helping them up. So today I wanted to say it's not a long video, it's just a short video. It's alive. And I want to tell you that survivor's guilt happens a lot to some very wealthy people. And what happens is you wanna be seen as the successful one, the nice one, and everything else, and they don't care if you're nice or not. They just want your money, and they're not gonna be proud of you, and it's okay for them not to be proud of you. What you have to do is attend to yourself, and in certain circumstances, like, I don't know, if my family member had a house that got burnt down or floated down the river because of a flood, then step in and help. But don't make it so that you are the go-to person because then you've gotten yourself into an unhealthy codependent relationship with your family and it stops your potential from rising. And so what happened was I had to figure out how to get past that. And I made some places. I have a fund for that. I learned that I don't loan money. I just give it to them if they need it. If I don't have it, I say I don't have it. And I'm like, this is the thing. I don't have it right now. And then I get to the point where I buy assets that are a little harder to liquidate. So people are like, well, she doesn't have the cash right now. And so those things help me move beyond my potential. And then I watch myself. I feel like you can only have survivor's guilt when you think you're responsible for everyone else. And that responsibility for me comes from my past, but it's not something that you need to carry with you forward. So, sometime if you're thinking to yourself, why can't I break through to the next level? What's holding me back? Sometimes it's stuff that's not your problem, it's not your monkey. And it's how people feel about you when you become more successful. Do they feel like you're stingy now that you have made a lot of money and you're not just handing it to them voluntarily? Do you think that they have a bit or you're feeling a bit of survivor's guilt. Do you think that's possible? Look at what that is, and remember, as your mindset change, your life changes. So the more I work on my wealth mindset, the more I work on that for me, the more wealth is uncovered. It's easier, it becomes easier and easier. We don't understand sometimes how we block ourselves from the thing we want. And I just wanted to share that with you just in case that was something that you were thinking, oh, this is a thing I'm going through. I didn't realize I had survivor's guilt. And that sometimes when I make more money, people get more angry or they demand more or they think they have ownership over that money and that I should give them every time they want some. And that may not be true for you. And maybe you need a solid, more stronger boundary around that. Okay, that is my first live today. And I just want to thank you. I'm going to learn this YouTube thing, and I promise I'm going to get better and better at it so that I can help you and me have a conversation together. Thanks for joining me today. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.